All right, it is Friday, June 6th, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on the West Coast. I am Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps, where we, as a collective of small business owners, in particular martial arts school owners, just trying to figure out this thing called life, right? We start a business so we don't create a job for ourselves. We want to create a business that works for us. Financial freedom, emotional freedom, freedom of time, all those things that come with it. But that's such a huge gap, right? You start this business and you want it to be this thing that works for you. That's a very, very, you know, long path to scale. And even in that scaling, there's a lot of pitfalls. And we're here just trying to figure it out with you. I can gratefully say I think we've been doing this close to a decade now, from the first original incarnation of this show. And for that, I am grateful. And it's all because of our sponsors. Let's thank our sponsors. We have Tusaw, My Studio, Market Muscles, Kids of Life Skills, LC Accounting, and Kin Creative. All companies I work with, all people I believe in, and all companies I believe are doing good work, right? And really helping our martial arts industry become and be a better version of themselves. What do we got coming up, Marco? We have what? We have It's Time Life Freedom. That's right. November 8th through 11th, right here, Millbrae, California, 5 minutes from SFO. We only take 20 school owners. It's a 4-day retreat. If you want to make an investment into anything, invest into yourself. Spend 4 days with us, and we guarantee, and I'll say that passionately, we guarantee you'll walk away here a different person with a different mindset and truly be able to create your version of success. Look for the link right there. Do get signed up. Do join us. It's just so magical. I mean, the 4 days out here is just something I look forward to year in and year out. And this will be our 9th year doing this. And it's truly something special. That scene at the beach, we added this new beach that we go to now. And I had to take that shot that you see here. It really is more than a seminar, a networking event. It is an experience unlike anything. So get signed up for that. Cool. And then our It's Time group mentoring. We say we are mentors, not consultants. Consultants come into an environment and they solve a specific problem. We as mentors, we are with you for the long haul. We want to be with you day in and day out. Me and my team helping you grow your business, create your version of success. And that cannot be a one-off. That can't be one problem and it's solved. It needs to be a long-term relationship that we invest in collectively. And so do look at our It's Time group mentoring. Schedule a discovery call with us and get on board. Get on board, get on board. Hey, Bob, what's happening? As you coming aboard, folks, say hello. Tell me where you're tuning in from. It's always a good day, right? Goals, martial arts. So come in and say hello. We're all looking at summer, and summer, some of us are doing camps, and that's ramping up, and people are use it not only as a revenue stream to shore up when people go on hold and we're not getting as many enrollments, which are traditional with most summer environments, unless you're doing a special, right? 3 months in a uniform for $297, right? Things like that fly off the shelf. Sometimes it could be a lot of movement, but at the end of the summer, they get sticker shock and they're not going to pay me $279. That's just the long and short. I just paid you $297 for 3 months and a uniform. Now you want me to pay you $279 a month for twice a week? So be mindful of that. We used to do those types of summer specials, and it felt like we had a lot of movement, but the return wasn't what we thought. But we do camps, and our premium camp, the third tier is $500 a week. So for us, we want to do camps, and we just got done training the team last week, as you saw some of my posts, and we'll continue to train that team throughout the summer because much of it is hands-on. Cool. What else we got going on this summer? I just got off our mentoring call, and everybody, one is training their team because a bunch of kids are going away to college. So they need to shore up that bench and be ready to go. Another one is, best camps ever, right? They got their camps rolling. Another one, again, launching camps. Another one, decluttering and working. There's just so much going on this summer. I'm not the type to just sit back and be defeated, right? It's summer, it's slow, this is the way it is. Great. And if you want that mindset, which isn't a horrible thing, save money on the good months. Be ready to be lean and mean during the summer. Schedule your vacations. Do what you need to do, right? Think about a school teacher. Some won't work all summer long unless they do summer school and they're just waiting for September. That's not a horrible thing. Just make sure you're committed to that. You strategize to save that money, set it aside, and do that. right? But for us, summers are just busy. We're painting the school. I just finished curriculum videos for the cycle. I got the new e-newsletter out on time. I developed like 4 or 5 new systems for day camp, and it's on. It's relentless. It doesn't stop. It simply doesn't stop. And when people say that, well, even in the position you're in, I said, well, one, I love what I do. Two, it fulfills my purpose. You look at someone like Warren Buffett that is actually stepping down. Stepping down. He's like 90 something years old. He loves his work and he's one of the richest men in the world. So again, having purpose and living from purpose beyond simply the monetary value that goes with it is really what makes life meaningful. Did I say that well enough? I hope so. I know Marco said, you don't have your coffee. And I think about it. I got a Pellegrino today, and I think we'll be fine. So, what are we talking about? This is a big one, and I think it's a hard one for a lot of school owners to embrace. I'm going to tell you why. Because we all believe we're the best teacher in the world. We all believe our methodology is so original and unique and, borderline I walk on water mentality. And I mean, I've had these debates and I get into it with these instructors and I simply share with them that after 25 years at one location, 10 years at the other, the reason we continue to be successful is because we remain relevant. How do you remain relevant? Recognizing that change is key, right? When you tell me I teach the way my instructor taught me and the way his instructor taught him and his instructor taught him, as noble and beautiful as that sounds, if it's a movie like Shogun or something, in reality, I find it very defeatist. Why? Well, because if we're kid-centric, kids learn differently today. Even adults have different needs. So the way a technique was taught, the way the presentation of your class, if you haven't changed it in decades, that's probably why your school's not growing, right? I mean, we really want to be mindful of that. And that's the biggest resistance I get. And if you're willing to forego that, then I believe the potential of you creating a unique culture to improve retention and profitability can be yours. It's so ironic that we often associate, and I did when I was a starving musician, we associate suffering with good art. I believe a great martial artist and a great martial arts teacher should make a lot of money. I believe that. And when we dismiss that someone simply, makes all this money because they've watered down their art and they're a black belt factory, et cetera, okay, how does that serve me? How does it serve me? Well, it doesn't. It doesn't. So for me, I want to be mindful of that. I simply do. So once I opened my mind to that potential, then of course I started attracting different people into my space. Number one was Roland Osborne and Melody Johnson, two people that impacted my life tremendously 15 years ago. And, Melody opened up my mind to training kids differently, from a neurological and emotional perspective. Roland Osborne introduced me to rotating curriculum, and that was over 15 years ago. And what it did to revolutionize our culture and our curriculum was phenomenal. So I want to pre-frame it with that because I think it's very important that if you don't come to the plate with an open mind and see the value, nothing I say will move you. You'll continue to teach the way your teacher taught you and his teacher taught them. And if that works for you, who am I to say? But if you really understand it's what's hindering the growth of your school and you accept that that's why you're not as profitable as you'd like to be, being a great teacher and a great martial artist, then this show is for you. Cool? All right. So let's talk about some of the logistics. Now, when somebody walks into your school, right, to take a class, what is the first experience they get when they step through the door? That's number one, right? So we have a rule of thumb and a system in place where we say hello to you within the first 5 to 10 seconds. Somebody does from front to the back. That sets the tempo of the class. 2, you check yourself in. Very empowering. I am here. Boom. You go to the iPad. 3, conveniently, there's a cubby right there for you to put your shoes in. 4, you're greeted before you enter the mat. 5, you sit in the waiting area. 6, somebody's pre-framing your class, getting you ready. So that alone is tremendous to setting the tempo of a class. And this is all culture-based. Live your best life. You're not living your best life if you walk into my school and nobody says hello to you. right? Either location. They got to say hi to you. That is very, 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 very important to us. And that sets the tempo, right? Somebody greeting you at the mat. Nobody ties their belt in our school for year one, ever, because we want that one-on-one point of contact to tie your belt and ask you things like, hey, how was that trip to Disneyland? Wow, that's a new haircut. Or did you score a goal in that soccer game last weekend? That culturally for us is powerful in retention. So let me get this straight. You greeted me by name. I took my own attendance, so I'm announcing I'm here. I conveniently had a place to put my shoes. You greeted me on the mat and tied my belt and asked me how, my trip was. I sat down. Am I ready for class? I think so. See? So even that, it was just a simple storyboard. I'm a student. I'm here for class. I walk into the door. What should happen here? So think about that for a moment in your school. What should happen? Maybe at Goals Martial Arts, the first thing they do is come through that door, and their goal is to get on the mat within 5 seconds. I don't know, but you can even gamify it and take the word goals and work it into it, everything there, right? So again, once you understand what it is you want to create based upon your purpose and your brand, then you work it from the front door all the way until the beginning of class. Cool? Now, when we start the class, we use music in all our classes. Only time the music's not on is during meditation or announcements at the end. That is it. Otherwise, it's in the background, white noise, and there's some type of music. But when we start the class, the music is louder. It's louder by design. And if it's only one class and not two different belt levels, that instructor's on a microphone. I know, right? Sacrilegious. You guys sit on microphones, but it's as I'm talking to you now. The wonderful thing about teaching with a microphone, it doesn't feel like I'm always yelling at people. And that's a big thing I noticed right away in the old days. Plus, if you're teaching 5, 6 hours a day, it wears on your voice. It always sounded like we were being yelled at. I was that kid in the martial arts, and it felt extremely stressful. It wasn't empowering. It wasn't nurturing. It wasn't inspiring. It was just somebody yelling at me all the time. You with me? So I want to be mindful of that. And so again, the innovation of music, the innovation of using a microphone, do consider it. And if it fits your culture and your why, I think you're going to find it extremely valuable. Cool? All right. So when we say everybody line up, right, for the warm up, that music goes up and we count. Who could stand on a black dot in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? The black dots. Ooh, another subject, right? Well, the dots, I actually got from Roland Osborne 15 years ago, and I know what he was using, tape or something at the time. And he says you can line up a class quicker and more efficiently. And once we moved into rotating curriculum, we fundamentally have 3 different belt levels in the class. But what do we know from back in the day? Line up by rank, highest belt up front. Right? And no, you don't go there. He's higher than you. Move over here. And to try to get 30 kids to line up by rank, I think is insane. So we eliminated that when we went into rotating curriculum. The dots, it's so fast and efficient and easy to get somebody to stand on a dot in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Instead of standing there, moving them by their shoulders, spacing them out efficiently, right? So we really changed that. And to me, that was one of the biggest things to set the tempo of the class, right? Everybody runs to that dot. They start running in place, jumping jacks, sit-ups, music's going. This guy's on the mic, coaching people up, highlighting and spotlighting, trying to work in the life skill of the day. Let's say hypothetically, it's focus, right? It's focus. I want to be mindful of that, when I create that tempo. All right. And then, of course, the warm-up. We just had a big discussion because we finally solidified this warm-up. And I said, it's not really the warm-up. I said this to TJ. For me, the bigger challenge is the presentation. Our guys need to be in coaches' stances. Our guys need to be talking it up. Our guys need to be highlighting, spotlighting. Our guys need to be gamifying. Okay, this half, this half. Who's going to do the most push-ups in 30 seconds? Go. Who's going to count the loudest? Those types of things, even in the warm-up, I think need to be there. And we're guilty of it too. I can't tell you how many times I've walked in and it's like a freaking morgue, right? And this guy's walking around doing the warm-up with low tone of voice, not doing any of the exercises with the kids. That's not cool, So again, you want to set the tempo of the class. So we took care of the front door to the main floor. We took care of the main floor to the start of the class, into the warm-up. You with me? Okay. Now the warm-up itself, I see a lot of instructors take a lot of pride on telling me we don't do the same warm-up twice. Okay. And then I say, why is that? And they said, proudly, we like to change it up. I said, okay, well, let me share a little bit of what I've learned about exercise, being a American College of Sports Medicine certified to teach fitness, as well as the American Council on Exercise. And as I sat in the kinesiology and the bell curve and proper formatting and all that stuff that comes with the fitness industry, which isn't something that's normally in a martial arts school, right? It's just not. Here's what I learned. Nobody is ready to work out when it's time to work out. Are you with me? So again, I believe it's important that they at least do something routinely that the body can acclimate to quickly and they're familiar with. I start throwing all these different warm-ups in the mix all of a sudden. One, and especially they stress this with me in all these classes, is the risk of injury. They're not warmed up yet. The muscles aren't pliable. They're not oxygenated. They're not ready to go. And you're throwing them all these curveballs. Good time to get hurt. Now, does that pertain more to adults than kids? Yes. But the kids still can get injured if you're changing up your warm-up every time. Okay. Two, I think it's important to have the same warm-up because when we begin our instructors and instructors training, right, it's low-hanging fruit. In our instructors training, first months, they take attendance, they say hello, they tie belts, but then they got to graduate to doing the warm-up. So if I can create a consistent warm-up, I can train them on systematically to deliver that warm-up. You with me? Yeah. And I was sharing that in our last group because a lot of these guys teach, all the classes, that it's great to have a junior or an assistant warm up that class so you can sit down, get a cup of tea, go use the bathroom, and reset for the next class. If you're barreling through class after class after class after class, then it's challenging. It's challenging, okay? So for me, I know I taught 6 hours yesterday. The ability just to sit down, get a little sip of tea and go, okay, what's the next class? What do I need to do? That way I can teach each class with 150% and be dynamic, right? And if you have no time between classes and you're just barreling one after another, I would think you're going to be degraded by the third class and you're going to compromise the fourth or fifth class. My last class has to be just as good as my first class. You with me? Okay, so we covered that. Now we did the warm up, and that's why it should systematically be the same. And do your homework. Go to ChatGPT, look around. It'll tell you what's good for kids 6 to 11, right? Hill climbers, jumping jacks, push-ups. Various things that really satisfy the warm up, oxygenate the muscles, make them pliable, right? Kicks. Right, dynamic kicks, front kicks, swinging the leg straight up like a football kick, hip, circle the hip out. Those different things prepare them for kicking. But they also, ironically, I'm really studying this because kids are terrible at sit-ups, aren't they? Tell me they're not. Is to find different ways to do sit-ups. And from a standing position, bringing my knee up to my elbows is one, different things like that you can actually do to work on their core strength and never have to go to the ground and do a traditional sit-up. I can still look at a class, even at year 3 or 4, and some kids are still doing sit-ups incorrectly, no matter how well we teach it. Okay, cool. Who do we have joining us, Marco? Madhavi? I'm not sure who that is, but welcome, Madhavi. As you come aboard, please say hello. Tell us the name of your school. Tell us where you're tuning in from. I always appreciate who's hanging out with us. So work on your warm-up. Do it now, systemize it, making sure it covers, exercise adherence and it's age appropriate and skill level appropriate. Now, if I'm talking about an adult warm-up, always demonstrate the low impact version first, especially if you got a mixed adult class. I don't want somebody with a lower back problem to be kicking above their waist, right? So let's say we're using front kicks as part of the warm-up. I will demonstrate the lowest impact version. I remind anybody who has a bad back to please keep your kicks below the waist. But you, 16-year-old kid right there, you kick above your head. You, super dynamite demo team kid, I want jump front kicks out of you during the warm-up. You with me? So that's teaching a multi-level class and being mindful of the demographics you're working with, especially with adults. We're always modifying, different parts of that warm-up to make it okay. Because if I know as an adult it's okay, then I'm not going to try to keep up with the kid doing jumping front kicks and hurting myself. Got it? Yeah. So, I'm really stressing that because we're having that challenge ourselves right now. Our warm up is boring. And I said, well, here's why that music needs to be louder. Here's two, the instructor needs to do the moves with them. Here's three, that instructor needs to be in a coach's stance, leaning in. Here's four, his physiognomy, his face has got to look excited. He's got to highlight and spotlight kids. He's got to give them the countdown. We're at the end of the jumping jack set. Okay, come on, push it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, switch. Okay, let's do hill climbers, right? Little things like that can change a boring warm up to something that's amazing. Now, it's just a warm up. No, it's not. It's the first actionable thing they do in a class, right? It's the first thing. So you want to make that impactful and meaningful. Cool. You with me? And then same thing with your stretch. We're trying to cover body parts. We just go from the top down, whether it's, necks, whether it's arms here or behind, whether it's, swimming back or swimming forward. We go down into the hips. We do hip circles. Then we get synovial fluid into the knees. We do knee circles. And then we work on the hamstrings, and the rest of the legs to get ready. So again, even your stretch should be scripted. And then you should write the system to train the team on it so the team can deliver. Any questions up to this point? Put them in the comments for other people coming aboard. Say hello. Tell me where you're tuning in from on this beautiful Friday. Okay, now, I get this one a lot, so I want to cover it for you. What do I do with these challenging kids? It's easy if you got a room full of rock stars, but you're going to have that kid, they often call them spinners, right? The kid who stands in a circle and spins. You might get somebody there who has challenges with focus or other things, other behavioral issues that may not exemplify the best parts of your martial arts class. Okay. So number one, what do I do with that kid? Anybody? What's number one? And we had this conversation yesterday and I got a spectrum of answers. And I think the most appalling one was, well, what I would do right away is separate them from the class and give them to an assistant. And I'm going, okay. Well, let's dissect that one for a moment. So, who's the best instructor on the floor? You. Okay, great. So now you've taken the best instructor away from the kid who needs the most support. Yes. And you've given this really challenging kid to who? An assistant. How old is that assistant? Oh, he's 16 years old. How long has he been teaching? 6 months. Bad day. That already is a bad day. Now, let's flip the script on that. It's also, I'm a parent. You've all of a sudden isolated my kid, or even worse, you singled him out. I got that one time and I went, wow, we were just trying to help him and give him some special one-on-one attention, right? But I could see it from a parent's perspective that we are singling their kid out. Bad day. So I looked at that and said, okay, so separating the kid and giving him to an inexperienced assistant instructor is a bad thing for us. It's a bad thing for the student, and it's definitely not a good day for the parent. Even if I pre-frame it to the parent, they're still going to have a bad taste in their mouth. Are you with me? Give me that in the comments. What do you think about that? Okay. Okay. So I said, okay, isolating them is not an option. Giving them to an assistant instructor. Let's just table that one for a minute. So then it became, all right, I'm the main guy on the floor. So first thing I want to do is pre-frame that kid for success. So when he's sitting in the waiting area, in the staging area, or where the kids sit to wait for class, that instructor will let him know. And we use Johnny for all purposes, right? Hey, Johnny, sir, today I need you to keep your hands and feet to yourself. And if you can do that, sir, guess what? I have a control badge to award you at the end of class. Boom, right? Because control badge, we have Kids Love Life Skills, and it's a wonderful life skill system to be able to pre-frame them for success, to be able to give them clear expectations with a reward, right? Or the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Powerful, powerful. And then, of course, you follow through during class when Johnny's doing what he's supposed to do. Give Johnny a thumbs up, acknowledge him, nod your head. Good job there, Johnny, while you're teaching class. That way you keep him on task. Because kids have a very short attention span, right? So you told him this in the pre-framing area, right? He starts class and he's running into people and stuff. And you go, Johnny, what did I just tell you? That's not a good day. Even when I start that class, I'm going to say, all right, Johnny, what are we going to do today? Okay, Johnny, get ready. Class is going to start in just a minute. All right, buddy? Are you ready to do that? So again, reinforcing, keeping him on task. Now, that only goes so far. So what else can I do with Johnny? Strategically, I put Johnny in the front row closest to where I stand. You with me? Okay, so I think that's important as well. And then when I make a correction that may specifically pertain to Johnny, I want to try to generalize that and make it a correction everybody can benefit from. So no matter what it is Johnny needs correction on, I can make a comment that benefits everybody. And then, of course, any nonverbal corrections, mega powerful. For example, let's say we're doing a front kick and nobody is rechambering their kick. I've watched instructors get so frustrated. Rechamber. And I'm going, dude, that simply doesn't work because 99.9% of the kids do not understand rechamber. But if I take a big plastic ring, right, they sell them, they're about 18 inches in diameter. I have a kicking pad on my hand, and I tell them, don't kick the ring. We'll call it the ring of fire. Don't touch the ring of fire and kick the pad. They're automatically going to raise that knee up, kick that pad, pull their, bend their knee and take their foot back out and set it down. Just organically with minimal verbal instruction. And that's the other thing I'm going to challenge you on, and we'll stay with the kid with challenges. Stop talking so much. Write it down. Stop talking so much. I know we're all famous in our own minds and we like to stand there and talk like everybody wants to listen to us. Simply not true. Kids learn by doing, not by us talking. And when I'm working on instructors training, everybody goes through this whole soliloquy of how they explain a technique. And I'm going, well, I'm challenged by that. We have a rule of thumb in our classes. Other than the live talk, which is about a minute long, if it takes more than 30 seconds for you to explain a technique, then we have not trained you well. You with me? So I want to be mindful of that. So when we make corrections, they're very general. And if I can make it a nonverbal correction by using a ring or a pad or adjusting things like that, that's fine because we're discussing muscle memory, right? They don't need this deep understanding or comprehension of a technique to do it well. They just need to be set up in the right way for success. You with me? Yeah. Here's another one. We were doing this the other day. I was teaching a round kick. Now, we know when we throw a round kick, we're supposed to use the instep of our foot. Everybody with me? Who's with me? Put it in the comments. Because I want to know who else is hanging out today. I dig the company. So tell me, right? So with the round kick, we use the instep of the foot. Okay. So here's what I did. I had them lay down on their belly and paddle their feet like they're swimming. And guess what? Pop, 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 pop. All I'm hearing is the tops of their feet going like this on the mat as they were swimming. So why is that a good way to share with them what part of the foot they're supposed to use on a round kick? Because every kid swims at some point. So it's a very common way to teach what part of the foot to use for a round kick based upon an activity The majority of kids do, right? So you see, it was so easy, and then I'd go faster, who could do it the loudest. And so they were impacting and conditioning their instep as well as learning how to throw a round kick. What part of the foot's going to make? So when they're making contact with the mat like that, believe me, when we kicked on a Wave Master on a pad, the same part of the foot connected with it. Yeah, go figure, right? Only took me 40 years to figure that one out. But I got tired of people throwing round kicks incorrectly, just like with a front kick. You know what it's like to try to tell a kid to kick with the ball of his feet? It's really hard. But now we have them stand up on the balls of their feet and they play a game of tag walking around the room. There you go, right? But they're on the balls of their feet because it's really the muscle memory. And if I'm standing on the balls of my feet, neurologically, I feel the contact point is the ball of my foot. I'm going to do that more when I kick a pad, kick a bag, etc. Yeah, and that's the art of that. Now, getting back to the kid, okay, I pre-framed him for success right when he showed up, does ABC, earns a badge. I keep him up close to me, right? If I make a correction, the whole class gets corrected, right? Then I'm going to highlight and spotlight Johnny. Absolutely. Johnny needs a highlight. Johnny needs a spotlight. Okay? Absolutely. And I'm going to make sure I do that for him because I do know a lot of parents bring their kids to us because they need more social skills. So inclusion is very important. Not a little bit, very important. So including them as much as possible without the go-to of giving them to an inexperienced 15 or 17-year-old instructor is a much better choice. Is it a little more work on you? Not if you pre-frame right, not if he's in the right position, not if the comments are general, not if you highlight and spotlight him. And through the whole class, what am I doing? When Johnny's keeping his hands and feet himself, thumbs up, visual, thumbs up, right? High five. Again, you say so much without saying anything is powerful. Cool? Now, what else comes with that? Because I do know leadership is something we should be teaching from day one. No, it's not an upgrade, into a leadership class or leadership. That to me is like exclusion. I want to get them into leadership from day one. So if I'm doing something as simple as working with 3 beginners, right? Let's say I'm going to do a triage. The guy in front is the leader. The 2 people behind are followers. Rotate, rotate. So they each take turns leading. And it might be as simple as me calling out the front kick and everybody does it. Who could kick harder than Johnny? Who could kick faster than Johnny? Who could ki louder than Johnny? Who could do it as correct as Johnny? And Johnny is the example for everybody to follow. They don't have to teach the class. They're just leading that one technique. And I set each child up for success. So if you don't have leadership as part of your school right now, then incorporate it from day one. You want to improve retention, which is always going to be a challenge from 0 to 18 months. Add the element of leadership immediately. I had a conversation with a mom yesterday. It was magical. It was magical because everybody will lead in my class at one point or another. Everybody. Now I'm going to get into that. Hold that thought. And I said to the mom, "Isn't that amazing?" She goes, "Yeah." I says, she tends to be a little shy, right? She goes, "Oh, yeah, of course. We both agree." I said, "That's why I'm going to challenge her." So again, going that extra step further by interacting with the parent at the end of the class, after her daughter had led a portion of it was powerful. That seals the deal. Please don't miss those magic moments. Make sure you come. And if I got someone warming up that class, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I have time to go walk up to mom and acknowledge how awesome her shy daughter was showing confidence by leading the class. So you say I got 30 kids in the class. I don't have time for all 30 to lead. Okay. So you know what you do? You simply turn north, east, south, and west. So let's say all the class is facing this way, north. Then have the class turn around this way, south. And now the people at the back of the line is leading. Then have them turn east. The person on that side is leading, right? Then have them face west. Then that side is leading. I can have the front row. Okay, front row, run to the back row. Next row, move up. You can do that too. We do that many times. And every time they go to the back, the next row moves up. The net line is leading. And we tell them you are leading. Be the loudest, the strongest, the fastest, the most powerful. We tell them that. So they're very clear on why they're in the front row. And we do emphasize leaders lead by example. Leaders lead by example. So that is in there too. Otherwise, it could be a huge miss. Huge miss. You got that? Write it down. So Johnny's rocking it. He's just rocking it. I pre-framed him, told him what I needed, clear expectations, told him he'd earn a badge. I put Johnny in the front row. I'm offering cues for Johnny that everybody benefits for. So the general comments to the class. I'm using nonverbal props that allow me. Something like if Johnny's got the wrong foot forward, I'm not going to announce, Johnny, change your feet. I'm going to tap Johnny's, because he's closest to me. I'm going to tap his leg, right, that he needs to have forward with a pad and say, remember, everybody, keep your right foot forward. Keep your right foot forward. You got that, everybody? And I'm tapping his leg to create neurological stimulation, and he automatically switches his feet. That's light years from Johnny. You got the wrong foot. Switch. Light years. Light years. And we just had that discussion recently. Don't spend 30 seconds talking to one kid. The rest of your class is standing there. Be mindful of that. Extremely mindful. And we remind our team, well, we're just trying to serve. I understand that. But when your whole class is suffering because you are having this one-on-one conversation with a student for 30 seconds, bad day. Especially in a year one class. So we have a thing called black belt training, right? We introduce the technique, we drill the technique, then we tell them, okay, black belt training, everybody practice like a black belt. We no longer do that in year one because that yellow belt stands there 90% of the time, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to practice. Of course, can we do black belt training in year 2, 3, and 4? Yeah, definitely year 3 and 4. Sometimes year 2 is borderline, right? But we can actually have that. So we don't do that in year 1 at all. Cool? All right. Now, next level, you're right. Worst case scenario. I've kept Johnny with me all this time. I did the best I can. He got the introduction to the technique. I can give Johnny to an assistant instructor at that point, but it will never be my go-to. Never, ever, never, ever, ever, never, ever. The walk of shame when you pull that kid out in front of everybody in the class and you give him to one instructor in the corner, that's not a good day. It's just not. And I say that from personal experience. As a child, I stuttered. Every day after lunch from 4th and 5th grade, they would pull me out of class to go work with a speech therapist. Now, nobody knew why I was leaving class, but just all eyes on me as I walked out of the class was embarrassing, even though nobody knew why I was leaving class, right? It just, to me personally, was very embarrassing. So you never want to do that to people. Put them on the spot like that, especially a young child who's shy, with no confidence, whose parents are hypersensitive, and want them to be included and all the rest. Have I really done well with that today? Because I watch school owners do this all the time to students. It's not a good day. It's not a good day. It's simply not. All right. So, and then if giving them to another instructor isn't working as well, then what's the next level? Then you walk them over to mom. You have to, and say, Mama, can you please support me on this? Maybe you can talk to Johnny for a moment because mom's observing all this, and hopefully we can get him right back into class. Just raise your hand when he's ready to come back in, okay? Boom. And then we'll check in. We just don't put John, because I'm not paying you $279 for me to sit here and scold my kid for 30 minutes for the rest of the class. But I will be supportive for 30 seconds to 1 minute and get that kid back into class. You with me? And that's always our last go-to, right? The last go-to is walking them over to the parent. But sometimes there are those moments, right? There are those moments. And be mindful. Make it your last choice. So, no giving them to a junior instructor or going to the parent first. That is your last resort. And I believe we put a really good positive stuff in place, right? And I will say that during class, hey, remember, Johnny, sir, I want you to earn this control badge, but you got to do what? Keep your hands in PTR. Stuff. Awesome. Otherwise, you can see the frustration on an instructor's face when he's going, stop it. Don't do that, Johnny. Kick, punch, kick, punch. Johnny, what did I say? Stop it. Kick, punch, kick, punch. Johnny, do I have to tell your mom? Kick, punch. That is, and I've witnessed that, even with our own team sometimes. It's not a good day for you. It's not a good day for the student. And it's definitely not a good day for the paying parent. Okay? But look at all the different things I've given you up to this point. And I think the neat thing about that for me is it allows me tools that I write systems for to train this team on to empower them, right? To empower them. And we released one recently, which I've shared with a lot of different groups. Number one is positive behavior, right? Acknowledge positive behavior. So, Johnny, your kid who's not keeping his hands and feet to himself, I'll go to right now. I'm going to compliment little Susie. Little Susie has good body control. She's keeping her hands and feet to herself. Little Susie, you get a control badge. Who else would like to earn a control badge? Boom. Also, you scan the room and everybody's keeping their hands and feet to themselves. That's the wonderful thing about the badges in Kids Love Life Skills. It gives a lot of credibility to those younger instructors and even a day camp staff because they can use it, right? They can use it supportively in all their classes. Cool? Yeah. And it's like, God, I remember the days of bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees, get lower, bend your knees, bend your knees. What a waste of time. What a waste of energy. It's negative for me. It's a bad experience for the kids. But I can say, look at little Jimmy with his knees bent. Jimmy, you get the first stances badge. Boom. You look around, everybody's bent their knees. So, what are some of our big takeaways up to this point? Put them in the comments. I think for me, I've done martial arts since 1967, and I do understand I've seen everything from, Bruce Lee to Kung Fu to Ninja Turtles to Power Rangers to Crouching Tiger to the revitalization of Karate Kid and all the different incarnations, Cobra Kai, Donnie Yen, Jackie Chan, MMA, Jiu Jitsu, UFC. I've seen it all. I've seen it all. And I think our relevancy, after all these years, my dad's had his school for 50 plus years. I've had these two locations for 35 collectively, is that we understand kids change. I can dismiss that kids will be kids, or I can recognize that post-pandemic, kids are a lot different. The post-traumatic stress syndrome, we won't know for years, right? The advent of social media and kids exposed to YouTube and TikTok and all the rest. So we need to teach differently. And a successful teacher is one who's willing to meet kids where they're at. This my way or highway stuff is ego-based, and it will deplete your school. And when I talk to you and you've been around for 20, 30 years and you say you convert all your trials, right? Your retention's really high. Yeah, you got freaking 50 students. What are we discussing here? Right? And people don't want to hear that. Their egos will not allow it. Will not allow it. So I understand that. But I believe at this point, we continue to be relevant. We continue to be profitable and we continue to impact because I know change is the key. We're doing it right now, revamping our curriculum for the fourth time in 25 years, redoing all of the curriculum videos, simplifying, no more, memorization strictly. It's learning and comprehension, which has always been our commitment, but we're going even deeper, refining it even more, getting to a level, of teaching that is mastery. It's high level teaching. So culturally, what else do we believe in? And this is a big one. I know our turnover rate with instructors is always going to be, a challenge, right? You got the kid gets a black belt at 15, 16. You have them teach for you all the way until they go to college. So you might get 2 or 3 good years out of them. If they go to college locally and you work with their school schedule, they might teach for you, while they're at college. Okay? They leave and go away to college, they're probably done. Unless they come back during the summer and just work for your day camp staff. But they couldn't be an active teacher on my martial arts team because they haven't trained in close to a year, but they can do camps. You with me? I am grateful to say, and I say this with gratitude, not like I'm some magic Svengali dude. My top tier team has been with me 15 years, but they make really good money, vacation with pay, 401k, medical, sick leave, all of that. If I don't create a company people want to work for organically, by default, they have to go work somewhere else. So I enjoy that. I think it's a very strong sales point with our parents when we can say collectively we have over 150 years of martial arts training and teaching experience. That's pretty badass. Don't you agree? I think it is. So I think that's impactful to our culture. Yes, we have 17-year-olds and 15-year-olds warming up the class. Yes, we have 14-year-old volunteers backing us in day camp, but it is not my core team. It is not, and it will never be. And I knew that from day one because I will watch, myself. It was a personality-driven business. I'm going, people are here because of me. Extremely volatile. If I get sick or hurt and can't work a day in my life, my schools are screwed. But it's not that way anymore. We have a pretty strong team in place. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. And it does cost me money, but it's money well spent with loyal people that have grown up with me, that are great at what they do. And they continue to get better as the years go by. And that's worth a lot of money to me. And it's worth a lot of money to parents. They will pay you for that. We good? Okay. So, and then, of course, getting back to the challenging student, Johnny, right? He's done really well. I got him back. Let's say we had to give him to an instructor. Worst case scenario, talk to mom. Johnny gets back in. And I let him know, Johnny, sir, it's not too late. You can still earn that control badge. Just remember what mom said and what we said. Keep your hands and feet to yourself. Awesome, buddy. And at that point, hopefully you got 10 minutes left on the class. I could even throw in there, Johnny, if you keep your hands and feet to yourself, I'll let you pick the game at the end of class. All this space for negotiating while trying to implement an amazing curriculum that fulfills our brand promise. Does this curriculum help them live their best life? Yeah. They learn self-defense to keep them safe. They teaches them fitness, right? Because there's the fitness component. It's supported because we got a great team supporting them. And we teach a life skill. Those are the 4 top things at ChatGPT, Google search, everywhere I look that parents look for in a great activity for their child. Write it down. Self-defense, fitness, supported, and life skills. Those are the 4 most important things. Supported and safe. Pardon me. Don't forget that. It's got to be safe and supported. And if you do those different things in a given class, then your retention will be improved, right? With that, if retention's high, they go tell other parents. So your referrals get happening. Then my profitability goes up. I get 10 students, I lose 10 students. That's net zero. But if I keep those 10 students I have and those 10 students are telling other people because they love what we do so much, man, what's the benefit of that? There's no advertising dollar there. Zero. It was simply word of mouth referral, which still to this day, with digital marketing and everything else, is still the best way to get new students. You with me? So, going through your entire curriculum with a fine-tooth comb for me is unequaled. And I'm constantly scrutinizing, looking at a class, looking at things going, how can that be better? How can that be better? Right? A little adjustment we made 2 years ago. We put equipment racks on both ends of the floor. Something as basic as that. Why? Well, because if I didn't grab all the right pads, during the warm up and put them in my area where I'm teaching and I have to walk across somebody's class or even behind it, it distracts the kids. And then I'm getting something off that equipment rack. But if I have equipment racks, most of us have the rectangular shaped schools, right? That's pretty standard in when we rent commercial space. So this rectangular floor, I want an equipment rack on one end and the other. So nobody's ever crossing each other. Something as basic as that. Always screwed. And we cut down our equipment racks because they were too high. Yeah, because some of the pads nobody could get up top, including me, and it's what a waste of space and time. So we cut down our equipment racks. We did in both locations. They look better. They feel better. Everything on the rack, it's easily to access it. Something as basic as that. Why? Because if my team is successful, if my team is empowered, if my team is confident through training them with proper systems, they will deliver. And if they deliver, then the students are happy. Yeah. When Richard Branson said that, the founder and CEO of Virgin Airlines, when it was around, he said that if I keep my team happy, they will keep the customers who fly with us happy. I get it. That makes perfect sense to me. Not a little sense. It makes perfect sense to me. So we're constantly mining that. And I'm a little bit old school, so I'm not hesitant to tell someone, what are you doing? But TJ really tempers me on that, and Letitia with HR. So now I don't talk to most of them when people need to be reprimanded or course correction. I treat that with kids' gloves. I really, really do. And that's why I find TJ and Letitia even more valuable because they allow me to not have to do things like that. Cool? All right. So, a lot to unpack today, right? A lot to unpack. But I hope today's show has really, really inspired you to go through every second minute of that class and ask yourself, am I creating the Disney experience? Do I even want to? I mean, you may be some hardcore, self-defense where it's all kick butt, gotta survive, and you want a dirty, sweaty, stinky gym, and that works for you, right? Right? That works for you. Okay, so be it. But I believe if I'm going to present my school as a strong investment for a parent, I need to go through every piece of my curriculum. Why? That's what they pay for. Put day camps aside, birthday parties, after school, all those other revenue streams. In most martial arts schools, I would believe their main revenue stream is martial arts instruction. Okay? Yet, even knowing that as pure real data, how many school owners spend so little time bettering their curriculum, bettering their systems of staff development and training, really getting a great life skills system like Kids Love Life Skills, really having a story from the time that kid walks through the door through the whole entire class and when they leave that floor. And when they leave that floor after this great game and we've awarded all these life skills badges and we set them up how excited I am to see you next class because we're starting a new stripe, all that tells you walk out that door, we're saying goodbye. All of that matters because our core product is martial arts instruction. Cool? Yeah. Hope you enjoyed that today. All right, Marco, man, let's start talking. So, what do we got coming up? We have It's Time Life Freedom. Please get signed up for that. 20 school owners, 4 days. It's so intensive. It's a pilgrimage. It's a retreat. They come from Switzerland, Canada, Germany. And I even think someone came from Australia. And of course, all over the United States. And then when it's sold out, they're saying, please, can I come? And I have to say, sorry, you got to wait a year. Don't be that person. Be the one who signs up today, right now. Marco put the link in. And we got our group mentoring. I love my team. I would do the group mentoring just because I have this amazing team of people that I love to work with. And they all came up through my programs and wisdom. They all are active school owners, which I think separates us from a lot of what's out there because we know what you go through because we're in the trenches every day, just like you. And we don't want to be there for a one-off, a consultant. We want to be there as your mentor in your back pocket, day in and day out, 24/7, 365, crying together, working together consistently to help you achieve your version of success and to go beyond it. Cool? So he'll put the link for that in there, Marco. And do get signed up for that and get signed up for our mentoring. You can schedule a discovery call right now. You simply can. Cool? And then let's thank our sponsors. I love my sponsors. Tusaw, Market Muscles, my studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, and Kin Creative. Again, I use every one of these services. I buy martial arts supplies from Tusaw. My website is with Market Muscles. My CRM system is with my studio. My life skills component in my schools are Kids Love Life Skills. My bookkeeper is Letitia at LC Accounting. And I do all of my digital marketing for Facebook ads and Instagram ads with Kin Creative. You want to go fast? Go alone. You want to go far? Go with a team. And this is the team that supports what I do. Cool? Cool. All right. So how can you find me? How can they find me, Marco? I hope they can find me. They can find our podcast, Success Never Sleeps, at Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify. I saw it the other day. YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's so much great learning there. You're talking a decade of learning at this point. And again, the fact that we're still relevant, we're still there, our schools are making money is something you should look at. These guys who come and go, they come and go. The people who have longevity and sustainability is something that's unequaled. And when I look at a Dave Kovar and a Melody Johnson, a Roland Osborne, some of these schools that have been here forever, people in our industry that continue to be relevant, it's because they're constantly changing. They're constantly going deeper on what they do well, and they're constantly learning. Cool? All right. Thank you. I appreciate everybody that's here watching the show. Share it with people, get them to watch it. Let's expand this. Right? Make sure to go to brandonbeliso.com. Get signed up for our events. Cool? All righty, folks. I am Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. Until we talk again, please, you go out there, live your best life.